I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk.
Hello. Hi everybody. We now have a wonderful short reading by the magnificent Graham Austin King. Here he is. Let's have a round of applause for Graham, please. Thank you very much. He's going to give you a lovely short reading now from his book, which is Faye the Wild Hunt. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so enjoy, guys, and I shall hand you over to Graham.
Hello, Fantasticon. Everybody awake? No? Can you hear me? There we go. Always good. Right, hello, Fantasticon. My name is Graham Austin King. I'm going to do a reading from my book, Faye the Wild Hunt. Bit of a dark fairy tale for you all. If the internet gods are cooperating, we should be broadcasting live on Facebook and everything else, so the whole wide world is watching. No pressure, huh? So a bit of context. At this point in the story, we have Miriam and her son Devin, who are fleeing from an abusive relationship, moving from one city to another. They have been forced to run away from a caravan which was attacked by bandits and are now lost in the woods. So, if everybody's ready, here we go. It had been a fine adventure for a time. Garrett had been interesting, exciting, and the run into the woods, whilst terrifying at the time, was a great tale to tell. Now, though, it was just a boring slog, and Devin was keen to get out of the trees. As he stared at the fire, he gradually became aware of just how silent the forest had become. Normally, there was endless birdsong, the faint rustling of squirrels in the trees and the other creatures in the undergrowth. But now, it was utterly silent, except for the soft snoring made by his mother. He slowly became aware of an intense feeling of being watched. As a boy in Cavtrin, he'd often seen cats stalk their prey. There was a time, just before they pounced, when they simply sat and watched. And this was how he felt, as if some predator sat and surveyed their little camp, deciding whether he would make a good meal. The night turned cloudy, and so there was little light to be had from the full moon, except when it occasionally broke through the clouds. What light there was came from the dying fire. "Where do you go to, manling?" A voice, soft as velvet, cut through the stillness. Devin leapt up and stared about wildly, his head whipping this way and that as he searched for the speaker. "Who said that?" he cried. "Where are you?" "Where do you go to? And why do you dance? Do you summon with intent?" The voice seemed to come from a different direction. It had an odd accent, as if speaking a language unfamiliar to it, the words shaped strangely on its tongue. "We're just trying to get home," Devin said softly. "Ah, home. I understand that. It's bad to be away from your home for too long. Bad to be kept from it." The voice was soft, but caught on that word. Devin jumped again as he caught a hint of movement among the trees. Nothing so definite as catching sight of the owner of the voice, just the merest hint of a passing figure. His eyes caught again on a patch of darkness, and slowly the disparate images coalesced. It was a woman. She stood in the dark calmly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world for her to be there. She stepped towards him slowly out of the shadows, moving with an infinite grace. Each step almost a dance in itself. She stopped just outside the tiny circle of light shed by the dying embers of the fire. The clouds parted to bathe her in moonlight, and Devin hissed with a sharp intake of breath. The woman's skin shone with a pale green colour where it was not covered by her simple tunic. It was as if her skin had a sheen all its own that threw back the beams of the moon. Her hair hung long and loose about her shoulders, and was as silver as the moonlight. She turned and raised her face to the moon, almost seeming to drink in the light, and then the clouds blew in again, and the moment was over. "Why do you travel?" the creature asked, turning to face him again. Devin had stopped thinking of her as a woman. On some level, he knew he ought to be fearful of her, but she seemed more curious than threatening. "We're going to find my grandpa," Devon said self-importantly, as only a 10-year-old can. The creature nodded sagely. Seeking the elders, a fine task. She stepped towards the fire, another cat-like step that brought her closer to Miriam, but yet somehow no closer to Devon. She crouched to her haunches suddenly and sniffed, almost seeming to taste the air in front of Devon's mother, before turning to look at him. Her eyes shone in the light, and for the first time Devon could see they were a startling shade of amber. It may have been a trick of the poor light, but he could see no pupils at all. They were just solid orbs of amber, gazing at him unblinking in the night. "This one will not go much further," she said in her strange accent. "Her wound is deep, and foulness travels to her center. When it finds it, she will be ended." Devon blinked. "Can you help us?" "Help you?" The creature cocked her head, looking for all the world like a curious bird for a moment. "Why would I do that?" She seemed genuinely perplexed. Devon had no answer to that and gave her a pleading look. "She sang?" she asked curiously. "At the stones, it was she who sang and danced?" Devon nodded, confused as to how she knew about the stones. "I suppose I might be able to help at that." She took one tiny step backwards, and suddenly she was gone, between one heartbeat and the next, and without seeming to move. The shadows and half-light that had made up her form seemed to shift, and Devon found himself searching around for her in the darkness. He was breathing heavily, as if he'd run a fast sprint uphill, and he turned to his mother, still sleeping on the ground. Devon knelt and felt her forehead as he'd been taught. It was burning to the touch again. "As I said, there is a taint that moves to her center," the voice came again. He turned to see her stood close to the fire, with a small wooden bowl and various implements. She knelt as he watched in silence and ground up various leaves, mixing them with what smelled like honey and strong red wine. She stirred with one long finger and seemed to smile as she did so, before taking one crouched step towards Miriam, bearing the bowl. Abruptly, she stiffened and sniffed sharply at the recumbent form again. Moving so swiftly Devon wouldn't have thought it possible, she set the bowl down and pushed at Miriam roughly, rolling her over with her foot and revealing Garrett's long knife. The woman leapt backwards and landed in a fighting crouch, hissing savagely at Miriam like a wildcat. "What's the matter?" cried Devon. The woman started, as if she'd forgotten he was there, and bared bright white teeth at him. "Fie, fly, begone, little manling!" she spat at him. "Take your tainted she and begone!" She drew herself up to her full height, and Devon was struck with pure terror as she moved towards him, her steps slow and deliberate. Waves of enmity seemed to roll from her, and Devon shied desperately away from her, sinking to the ground to his mother, next to his mother. "Begone!" the creature snarled, and taking 2 steps backwards, she vanished into the trees. And there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Graham. That was amazing.
Thank you
Put
very
me down
much.
for one of those, please. Sign one, drop it off at the bookstore.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, everybody, let's have another great round of applause for Graham Austin King.